The Blue Ridge Parkway is one of the most scenic drives in the United States, stretching nearly 500 miles through the Appalachian Highlands of Virginia and North Carolina. It offers breathtaking views, winding roads, and peaceful overlooks. But behind the beauty lies something far more unsettling. For decades, this quiet road has been the source of strange reports, eerie sightings, and chilling ghost stories that travelers still whisper about to this day. Built during the Great Depression and completed in stages over many years, the parkway was meant to connect the Great Smoky Mountains National Park to Shenandoah National Park. As construction moved through remote valleys, dense forests, and ancient hills, it passed over land rich in history and death. From Civil War battles and Native American land to long-abandoned homesteads and forgotten cemeteries, the road was carved through places where tragedy had already left a deep mark. Soon after the parkway opened to the public, stories of strange happenings began to emerge. People reported hearing footsteps in the woods when no one was there. Some said they felt watched at certain overlooks, or saw shadowy figures standing silently among the trees. Others described ghostly apparitions appearing by the roadside, only to vanish the moment they were seen. These weren't just one-time tales. They continued for years, often with eerie similarities. Locals and rangers both have stories to tell. Some are whispered at campgrounds, others passed down through families who've lived in the area for generations. There's even a belief among some that the parkway itself has become a kind of spiritual pathway, attracting wandering spirits and preserving the energy of those who died along its winding route. And this is just the beginning. One of the most well-known ghost stories from the Blue Ridge Parkway centers around a lonely stretch of road near Asheville, North Carolina. For decades, travelers have reported picking up a young woman on the roadside, usually late at night or during heavy fog. She appears lost, wearing a light-colored dress, and quietly asks for a ride to her home. But as the driver approaches a specific bridge or tunnel, the girl simply vanishes from the seat beside them. Locals have come to know her as the Veiled Lady of the Parkway, and some believe she may be the spirit of a woman who died in a car crash in the early 1900s, long before the parkway was fully completed. Another chilling location is the Bluffs area near Doughton Park in North Carolina. Hikers and campers here have reported hearing disembodied voices after sundown, soft murmurs that echo through the trees without any clear source. One park ranger, who worked the area in the early 1970s, shared that he once heard a woman crying out from the woods late one evening. When he went to investigate, the sounds led him deeper and deeper into the trees until they stopped all at once. He found no trace of anyone, but the air around him had suddenly turned icy cold, even though it was midsummer. Further north in Virginia, near the peaks of Otter, several sightings have been reported of a man in old-fashioned hunting gear, silently standing at the edge of the forest. Witnesses describe him as motionless, with a rifle slung over his shoulder and a blank stare on his face. Some say he disappears into thin air if approached. This has led to speculation that he might be the ghost of a 19th century hunter who died in the mountains during a snowstorm. Another disturbing tale comes from the area near Craggy Gardens, where a few hikers have experienced what they described as time slips. They claim the landscape around them suddenly looked different, older, wilder, as if they had stepped back in time. Some even reported hearing the sounds of wagon wheels or voices speaking in unfamiliar dialects. These experiences usually last only a few moments before everything returns to normal, but they leave a lasting impression on those who experience them. These ghost stories and strange encounters are not isolated events. They've been shared by hikers, travelers, and even park staff over many years. Each one adds to the eerie legacy of the Blue Ridge Parkway, a place where history, mystery, and the unexplained seem to linger just beneath the surface. Along the stretch of the Blue Ridge Parkway, near Roanoke, Virginia, motorists have long reported a chilling sight just before dawn. a figure in tattered clothing, slowly walking along the shoulder of the road. Witnesses say the figure is always seen from behind and appears to be limping. When drivers slow down or attempt to speak to him, he vanishes. Some believe he is the ghost of a Civil War deserter who was executed in the nearby woods and never received a proper burial. His ghost is said to wander, still trying to find a way home. A lesser-known but equally unsettling location lies near the Moses H. Cone Memorial Park in North Carolina. This area includes the old Flattop Manor and a large stretch of forest trails. In recent decades, park workers and visitors alike have described hearing unexplained footsteps in the upper floors of the manor when no one else is present. Others have seen flickering lights in rooms that were confirmed to be empty. One former employee claimed he heard a man's voice humming a tune from the early 20th century in the basement, even though the building was locked and closed to the public at the time. At the site of the old Rakes Mill Pond in Virginia, a different kind of supernatural event has been reported: phantom music. Several people have said they heard what sounded like a fiddle playing near the water's edge, even when no one was nearby. The tune is often described as mournful and repetitive. Local legend ties this to a mill worker who drowned in the pond in the early 1800s while trying to save his instrument during a flash flood. Another eerie story comes from the area near milepost 150 in Virginia. In the woods surrounding that section of the parkway, campers have claimed to see strange figures between the trees, tall, shadow-like silhouettes that move silently and vanish when approached. Though some dismiss them as tricks of the light or tired eyes, others believe these could be what some folklorists call shadow people, apparitions thought to be attached to certain pieces of land, often tied to traumatic or violent histories. Perhaps most mysterious is a report from the early 2000s involving a maintenance crew working in a tunnel near the Virginia-North Carolina border. They claimed to see a man inside the tunnel waving a lantern. When they approached him, he backed into the darkness and disappeared. Thinking he may have been a lost hiker, they searched the entire area with no success. An old story from the 1940s describes a man killed during the tunnel's construction, crushed by a falling stone wall. The modern crew was unaware of this history at the time of their sighting. These stories continue to circulate, passed down through word of mouth and local lore, further deepening the Blue Ridge Parkway's reputation as one of the most haunted roadways in the United States. Further north along the Blue Ridge Parkway lies Bluff Mountain Tunnel, an isolated passage in Virginia near milepost 215. Though not widely publicized, several travelers have spoken of a dark, chilling presence within the tunnel. On quiet days, hikers have described echoing footsteps following them, despite being completely alone. In 2007, a photography student reported taking long exposure shots of the tunnel and capturing a faint, blurry outline of what looked like a person standing deep in the darkness, though no one had been present. The figure did not appear in consecutive frames. Heading into Allegheny County, close to Doughton Park, there's a little-known site called Brinegar Cabin, preserved as a cultural exhibit. Some rangers working the cabin during off-season maintenance have reported hearing muffled conversations in the empty house. Tools have also reportedly gone missing and been found days later in locked storage spaces. Although no deaths are directly linked to the property, local oral history tells of a child who vanished in nearby woods in the early 1900s, and some believe the area retains a trace of that unresolved tragedy. Near the James River crossing at milepost 63, a former railway camp area, now used for day hiking, has developed a quiet reputation for unexplained sightings. Campers have told of seeing glowing blue lights hovering above the riverbanks during foggy evenings, lights that suddenly vanish when approached. In one case from the year 2003, a group of college students claimed their campfire went out all at once, followed by a strange pressure in the air and what they described as distant singing coming from the direction of the river. No explanation was ever found, Another unsettling place is the Moses H. Cone Memorial Park, near milepost 294. While known mostly for its beautiful estate and trails, staff and guests have reported hearing footsteps in the manor house when it is completely locked and unoccupied. Several have also witnessed an old man standing by a window in an upper floor room that is no longer open to the public. Though the identity of the figure remains unknown, his appearance has been noted several times over the past 2 decades, always in the same spot, looking out over the property toward the woods. Finally, farther south, near Soko Gap, there have been reports by nighttime motorists of a strange 4-legged creature moving unnaturally fast across the road. While many dismiss it as a wild animal, several witnesses insist its form was misshapen, described as having an unusually long neck and eyes that reflected red in the dark, even without direct light. Some believe this may be tied to Cherokee legends that speak of shapeshifters or watchers in the mountain passes, spirits meant to guide or mislead travelers. The Blue Ridge Parkway holds more than just hidden waterfalls and quiet trails. It shelters ghost stories rarely told outside of local circles, passed down quietly but never forgotten. Near milepost 42, in Virginia, Otter Creek Campground seems like a peaceful stop, quiet, surrounded by thick forest, and usually empty during off-peak months. But a park employee in the year 2009 reported seeing a man in old-fashioned hiking clothes standing silently at the edge of the woods near dusk. When approached, the figure disappeared behind a tree. Despite a full search, no one was found. The ranger later learned that a man fitting that description had gone missing in the area during the early 1970s and was never located. One of the more isolated stretches between milepost 324 and 330 in North Carolina passes near Bear Den Mountain. Hikers here have occasionally spoken of hearing strange rustling noises that follow them for long distances, despite no signs of wildlife or wind. A story shared by a backcountry guide in the year 2015 described an eerie moment when he and a client heard what sounded like whispering in the trees, but the words were in no language they recognized. That section of forest has long been avoided by some locals, especially after dark. Just off the parkway, near the historic peaks of Otter area by milepost 86, is the site of an old lodge and cemetery. Some visitors have taken photos of the graveyard, only to find unexplained mists or streaks of light in their images. In one documented case from the year 2011, a tourist from Tennessee reported hearing a young girl's voice calling out from the tree line at dusk, though no children were present. She later learned that a girl had drowned nearby in the lake during the early 20th century. At Craggy Gardens, located around milepost 365, strange lights have been reported since at least the 1950s. Hikers and rangers alike have witnessed orbs of white or pale yellow light drifting silently along the ridgeline after sunset. In the year 2002, a group of astronomy students camping for a meteor watch reported seeing one of the lights hover above the mountain for nearly 10 minutes before vanishing behind the slope. No scientific explanation has ever been confirmed. And finally, there are persistent tales from the area surrounding Water Rock Knob, near milepost 451. It offers one of the highest elevations on the parkway and sweeping views. But some say the altitude isn't the only thing that chills visitors. In foggy weather, multiple people have described seeing human-like figures standing near the edge of the overlook, only to vanish when approached. One former ranger recounted a call in the year 2010 from a driver who saw what he thought was a hiker in danger near the guardrail. When emergency crews arrived minutes later, there was no one there, and no footprints in the wet grass. These stories, spread quietly through witness accounts, ranger reports, and unexplained incidents, remind us that the beauty of the Blue Ridge Parkway is only part of its identity. Its forests, tunnels, overlooks, and historic spots carries shadows that defy easy explanation. Even today, travelers may find that not every figure they pass on the trail is fully of this world.